Secretary Carter, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to
have you here.
Thanks for having me. You've been very focused on rebuilding this bridge between the Pentagon and Silicon Valley. You've got 16 more months in this administration. What will be tangible proof that your outreach is working? What do you want to accomplish in 16 months? A
few things, and I can do a lot in 16 months. I'm a man in a hurry, and 16 months is a long time, as you know, in technology, and I can start a lot, even if it'll go on, as I hope it does, after I'm gone. So to answer your question, give you some examples. We're making important investments in technology in partnership with Silicon Valley companies. I'm going to announce a major such initiative today in the area of essentially flexible integrated circuits, which is a very important thing. So we'll be making investments, private-public partnerships, and direct investments, as we have for decades, going back to the era of jet engines and satellite communications right up through the internet, integrated circuits. So we need to be a technology leader to protect our country. And we can be a technology leader only if we partner with folks out here. And the other thing is people. I need good people who are dedicated to our mission, which is protecting our country and making a better world. And they're looking out here for interesting problems, things that are consequential. These are people who want to make a difference in life. And there's nothing more consequential than being part of protecting people.
You're a physicist by background, so you understand this stuff. What are some key technologies and assets that you can get from Silicon Valley that you're not getting from current defense contractors?
Well, a lot of the really new, really cutting edge, brand new stuff we do get, but I find that the Defense Department over the years has gotten a little too bureaucratic, a little too slow for the pace of people out here. Plus, some of these people didn't grow up as I did in an era where all of our technology mentors had been part of the World War II effort or the Cold War effort, and it was kind of in our blood to take an interest in these things. So both on the people level, some of them aren't acquainted with us and what we do, and some of our people have never understood the VC community or the technology community. We need to get them to understand one another. And in the technology area, we have so much to learn from the cutting edge out here. Remember, we don't build anything in the Pentagon. We count in this country upon private industry and private initiative to create the technologies that, next to the wonderful people in uniform who make our military the finest fighting force that the world has ever seen, next to them, technology is what made us great, and we need that technology.
So Google, for example, they've been buying a number of robotics companies. They've got a humanoid robot, a cheetah robot, a dog climbing robot. When are we going to see robot soldiers? When are we going to see self-driving cars in the field on a mass scale?
Oh, I think you'll see them soon. We already have teleoperated planes, so-called drones, helicopters, other things, undersea vehicles. True autonomy is another step forward. I just came from a briefing by a set of advisors to me on technology who have been studying all summer the question of autonomy and autonomous vehicles. So you'll see them driving underwater and doing all sorts of things like patrolling cyber networks to defend them. All of those things will be done autonomously or in very creative man-machine combinations in the future. We need to be part of that revolution. Much of it occurs right here, and that's another reason for my visit.
Do you see a future of robot armies?
I certainly see robots in the field. I think that it'll be a long time before humans are entirely removed from conflict. And also, of course, we're always going to want human decision-making and human responsibility when it comes to the use of force.
What about drones? Drones have been used in the military for a long time, but now you have Amazon, Facebook, Google making their own drones. Do you think you can learn anything from those companies?
Sure. I mean, we know a lot, but we can learn a lot also. Well, they're learning things about how, for example, to do logistics. We do a lot of logistics that may seem mundane to you, but if you're fighting in Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria, where getting forces and equipment in and out is vital, we learn something. We learn something from them in areas like warehousing and inventory management, which again may sound mundane, but don't forget, we're spending the taxpayers' money. and we're constantly trying to do it more and more efficiently. And we learn about efficient techniques as well as effective combat techniques from new technology.
Give us a sense of the severity of the recent hack attack on the Pentagon email system, the unclassified email system of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and to what extent has that attack prompted you to ask Silicon Valley for help?
Well, it is a sign to me that we're not nearly where we need to be in terms of cyber defense. Even in the Defense Department, where we've known for decades that information technology was going to be critical to our military edge. And so we have a lot to learn. Clearly, our Joint Chiefs of Staff network, now it wasn't exploited in a dangerous way, and it resulted actually from a very simple operator failure, somebody who opened an email they shouldn't have, which in all companies we are warned against doing that. So it was fairly mundane, but that something that mundane could affect that important a network shows you we're not where we need to be. That shows you that we need to be on the cutting edge of cyber defense. And this is the place where the cutting edge of cyber defense is defined. So if we're going to be there as we need to be, we need to do that in partnership with Silicon Valley.
You worked for Secretary Gates, who barely used email, as I understand it. How much do you use email, and what steps have you taken to protect your own systems?
Well,
I'm very short messages, long messages.
To be honest, I'm very careful in that regard, and in general, my staff uses messages, and of course we send copious messages back and forth around the world. But for myself, I'm very careful because I know that people would like to know what you do with email if you're a national security official, and so I'm extremely careful about it. But obviously the department, never mind me, the department as a whole uses email and all kinds of other electronic aids all day, and we need to protect that because that is necessary in order to make our forces effective. There's no point in having planes, ships, and tanks if you don't have the networks that in today's world make them capable.
So when you say careful, you mean you keep it short, you don't send them that often?
I did both of those. Now, of course, that's funny for me because in my former life, including when I lived out here in Silicon Valley last year, I was on email all the time. But now in this job, I use a different way of operating.
Now, how much have the revelations of Edward Snowden, degraded this relationship between the government and Silicon Valley? And how much do you feel you have to mend the fence there? Well,
I think that's another reason to build bridges, rebuild bridges. That the relationship between the technology community and the government has had its ups and downs over the years. And the Snowden revelations raised two very important issues. The issue of the balance between privacy and national security. That's a serious matter, and we can only resolve that in dialogue between those who know a lot about that subject and who have a stake in it, who are out here, and those responsible for protecting people who are in Washington. So this bridge is important to resolving that issue. Another thing that Snowden did was cause harm to our companies, American companies, because others use those Snowden revelations against our companies and say, well, you can't trust them because they're American, even though the Chinese and the Russians do essentially unlimited surveillance and restriction of the Internet in their own countries.
So Mark Zuckerberg, for example, has called U.S. surveillance a threat to the Internet. Tim Cook has said he doesn't want to have his users have to choose between security and privacy.
Right.
What do you want from a Mark Zuckerberg? What do you want from Tim Cook?
Well, I think they're with them 100%. We're trying to find a solution here that allows ordinary people and good people everywhere and companies everywhere to make use of this new technology in a way that is good for humankind. And at the same time, we do need to protect ourselves against terrorists, against child pornographers, criminal networks, drug runners, and on and on. And so there has to be a certain amount of public order as well as private freedom. That balance, I don't think we can strike in Washington. I think we can only strike it by talking to the greatest leaders and minds in this field, and they're out there. So that's one of the reasons I'm here.
You're working on the 2017 budget. This is the last budget you're going to have a big impact on. We've talked about cybersecurity being a big problem. What needs more money? What needs less money? Should there be a cybersecurity arm of the military, for example?
Cyber does need more money. We will provide new money. So even in an era when there's a lot of budget turmoil, which is a terrible thing, a whole other subject in Washington, we need to invest more in cyber. We will.
How much more?
We do that. You know, interestingly, the tricky thing is in cyber investments, as any company out here, I'll bet you will tell you, isn't so much the money, it's the people. It's finding good people that is challenging for us as we try to do cyber defense. And so hiring those people, training them, deciding what mix of uniformed people, government people, industry people we should have in our cyber force, that's more challenging even than the dollars. So
a cybersecurity arm for the military?
There is a cybersecurity arm for the military. We have a cyber command. We have the National Security Agency, which reports to me. And so we have plenty of people doing this. But as the example you gave earlier of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Network shows, we're not perfect. We're a long way from being perfect. We need to get better.
Secretary Carter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
On Bloomberg Television.